top. We're very happy today to have Dr. Steve Mulholland here, and he had a client named Dale. When Dale came to see him, she wanted her pre-baby body back. Can you relate? I can. Let's watch her transformation right now.
Hi, good morning, Dale.
Hi.
Hi, Dr. Mulholland's ready to see you.
Great.
Okay, so come on back.
Hoping that I can get back the figure that I had before I was pregnant, because I found that after the pregnancy and breastfeeding, I lost all the volume that I had in my breasts. Now they just sag. And then around the middle as well, I feel the skin's really stretched out, and I'd like to be able to tighten up the skin in there a little. But I am working out 3 to 4 times a week, running, doing the sit-ups, the weight training, but it's just not showing in my body overall. I find there's just those certain areas that I'm not getting.
On the tummy, just bend down just a bit. That loose stuff right here is where we're going to do some tightening. We're going to do some subsurfacing or subdermal laser tightening, and we're going to remove a little bit of that skin and tighten that for you. As with many young moms who've had their children, it's not so much about trying to look younger. It's just trying to recapture some of the body they used to have. You expand, contract with pregnancy, and you wake up one day, your kids are off to school, and you look in the mirror and it's like, usually what I recommend is a nice teardrop shaped cohesive gel implant. And then we do what I call a smart lipo assisted mini tummy tuck, meaning we only use the C-section scar. We remove a little bit of skin, and we do what's called smart lipo up on the tummy and the hips, which is using a laser to melt the fat and to tighten the skin at the same time. So we get a nice tighter tummy, very little scar, very little downtime, and a nice breast shape.
So many of us have been in that same situation. And, you know, my answer is after you have a baby, just never bend over and never sit down. And then your stomach is always totally flat.
It's a cheaper solution.
That's a cheaper solution. But your solution works very well. When we see the afters, we're going to see sort of the full effect. How often do you get women in that same situation?
It is probably the most common patient I see. A woman between 27, 28 and 45 to 50, had 1, 2, 3 or 4 children, has devoted her life to reproductive medicine, and now looks in the mirror and wonders where her body went. So it's almost like aesthetic reconstruction. It's trying to recreate or grab onto what one once had, a tight, firm tummy and body, and breasts that match your figure.
Is it ever doable? Like, are we ever really able to get back to that tight tummy without a little bit of help?
We can get very close to that 25 to 28-year-old figure you had pre-baby. We've got a lot more aesthetic solutions, a lot simpler solutions. It's been an amazing renaissance for the postpartum mom.
Now, for her, she said that she had worked out and everything, but there was always a little something, and she had had a C-section. Does it make a difference, do you think, whether it's a C-section or it's a different sort of birth, a vaginal birth? Does that make a difference in terms of the elasticity in your stomach?
I don't think it makes a difference on the condition of your tummy post-baby. Some of our incision ports or access positions are easier with C-section, but whether it's normal vaginal or C-section, the common complaints are loose skin, stretch marks, no muscle tone, and this bulge with a little bit of fat and loose skin you can't exercise away, or breasts that just deflated in front of your eyes, and so you wear an evening gown and there's always that little wrinkling and no fullness up top, or you wear an underwire push-up and there's nothing to push up, or you just want to wear a tank top with nothing on underneath and there's nothing there.
Are you kidding me? With nothing on underneath?
Absolutely.
Yeah, those days are over for me, my friend. I remember them, though. So what I found interesting about that tape is that you said you actually go through the C-section incision. So
the common points that we go in to do this smart lipo or tummy tightening with lasers and probes, the belly button, through pubic hair, through C-section scars, so very unobtrusive. Certainly more so than it used to be with the big tummy tuck scars.
Right.
The breast implants, we're going to talk about that later, but there's many stealth ways to go in and bring back that volume.
Excellent. Well, you did a really, really good job. So Dale, as we mentioned, wanted to restore her body to her pre-baby look. Let's take a look at the results.
Dale, it's so good to see you. You too. How are you? I was just looking at your pictures and admiring your post-op outcome. Come on in. Let's have a look at them. So Dale, it's 8 weeks after your surgery. What do you think?
I love it. I think it's great. I couldn't be happier. And yeah, I'm No complaints at all.
If you look at the pre's, you can see it was difficult for you to fill a bathing suit.
Definitely,
and
yeah.
we've got a nice little post picture here. It looks like a natural breast.
Yeah,
it doesn't look
definitely.
fake.
I feel great right now. Honestly, though, I think for the first couple weeks before surgery, I was on an emotional roller coaster. Of course, I was usually excited and couldn't wait to have the surgery done. But there's also a lot of times when I was feeling really anxious, very nervous, and almost getting cold feet at some points, mainly because I'd never had surgery before, and I didn't know what to expect. I was worried about what the results were going to look like, but also worried about the recovery, worried about any possible complications. But now, 2 months later, I am so glad I had the surgery done. This body makeover was probably one of the best things I could have done for myself. I love the results. I think Dr. Mulholland exceeded my expectations. I had hoped to regain back the fullness that I had before pregnancy, and I think my body's even better than it was before I was pregnant. I love it. I had my 40th birthday this summer, and I think I look better than I did in my 20s.
Now that's good work. She feels better than she did before the baby. That's amazing. So you've got some befores and afters here.
Yeah, I think this really highlights and will resonate with any woman that's had children. You know, that bent over and it's kind of a little loose.
Yeah.
That's very easy to fix now. So, under local anesthetic, that's the other thing. You don't need a general. You don't need to stay overnight. It's very quick, relatively painless. This little post-mummy tummy, usually below the belly button or the little wrinkles above, and when you bend over, it's loose. It's just not as sexy as it once was. So as you said, you never bend over and you never sit down.
Don't sit down, like I am right now.
This is her bent over view after. You see it's nice and tight, more pre-babyish. And you know, I think having children is great. Sometimes it ravages the body, and we should take pride in being moms and dads. But you don't have to live with the consequences of childbirth anymore if you don't want to.
Well, the other thing is you're going through so much hormonally as well. It's really tough to get used to your new body. So it's nice if there is something that can help you sort of get back to the way you were, the way you liked your body. How long did she wait? Like after she gave birth?
Yeah, she was about 4 or 5 years after. I mean, she worked out and dieted, hoping, as many women do, I can do this. I can exercise through my loose skin, stretch marks, and that little roll. And so I never advocate doing any kind of procedure within a year of breastfeeding. Not just childbirth, but finish the breastfeeding, because that estrogen progesterone has an effect on your skin. Right. So that all the dust settle, that everything just deflate, droop, and sag. Try your best in the gym, and some people do. They have surprising genetic code, and their skin looks great after children, but some don't. And so wait a year, see a cosmetic plastic surgeon you feel comfortable with, who offers you minimal invasive and options in restoration. So 1 year.
How long for recovery for her? Or in general?
You're up and walking that day nowadays. You're up and moving that day. Nothing heavy lifting for 3 weeks, but you're back to your normal lifestyle within a month.
That's incredible. Okay, can we show the top part now? We've seen the tummy.
Sure. Yep, we can do that. Again, very common phenomenon after children. You've breastfed, and there's a very common after this is in a bathing suit top, and a common complaint I get is, you know, I wear my bathing suit top or I wear an evening gown, I've got no fullness in the upper pole. I've lost my upper pole, and I don't want to be Pamela Anderson or some, you know, posh spice. I don't want to look ridiculous. I want to look natural. And so I know later we'll be talking about the teardrop implants, but the teardrop anatomic implants give you that nice normal I'm a sexy mom of two takeoff of your breast. So it isn't the round implant anymore, it's the teardrop. And we tend to use gummy bear or semi-solid gels, so they actually feel like a breast when you're touching them. And that's been a real transformation in what women can do now to look natural and not done.
Absolutely. I felt them. They do feel real, the gummy bear ones. We're actually going to show you them after the break. I was joking with the audience that we had another giveaway, and they asked, is it implants? But then you would have to find someone to put them in you. So we're not going to give you implants today, but we are going to show you the different varieties. So stay with us. It's coming up after the break. Getting that body back after baby, and also just getting the body ready for summer, because a lot of us want to put on the little bikinis and you want to feel comfortable, and part of that is the ladies, the girls. A lot of changes happen after you have a baby, and there are a lot of people that want to sort of get a bit of a lift. So you've got a couple of kinds of implants with you.
There has been, as I said, a renaissance in the devices that are now approved. For over a decade, all we had was saltwater options, saline options, which are safe. They've been around for about 40 years. Over the last decade, we've had the emergence of what are called the gummy bear implants, or the cohesive solid form gel implants. And so this would be a typical saline implant that would go behind the breast tissue or behind the muscle. And as you can see, although it adds volume, it ripples very easily. If you show a close-up there, it ripples very easily, and it doesn't hold its shape. It becomes a round ball, rock at the end of the sock. And so although it will, when overinflated, it will give you distension, it doesn't usually give natural-looking shape.
Okay.
Compare that to what's available now in Canada and the United States, and been around for about a decade in Europe. This is called the Cohesive Gel Implant. It sits in my hand pretty naturally. It looks teardropped. You know, if you did the test where you close your eyes and you say, just what implant would I want me or my husband or boyfriend or my lover to feel, it would most 95% choose the gel.
Okay, hold on, let me test this.
Then we can do it. The Folgers Test here.
The Folgers Test. Okay, if you had to choose a boob, what would you choose? Come here, Rowdy. You touch them. Which one do you like? That one. Yes. It feels great. Feel it. That's lovely. It is, isn't it nice? It is. It does feel a lot more natural.
It does. And so the gel
These
implant, this particular gel called Cohesive, it's not liquid. It doesn't leak. If you were to cut it in half, it just stays there.
Right.
So one of the fears of gel implants back in the 90s, the silicone scare, was that it was the leaky, sticky, gooey gel.
Yes, I
that if it
remember
leaked,
that.
it was hard to get out. These hold their shape. They're built to last, and they dispel a lot of the you know, the urban myths of breast implants. And we were talking earlier. One of which is, oh, geez, every 10 years I need to change this, almost like the inner tube on my bicycle.
Yeah.
You know, if the tire's still working well, you don't go and change the inner tube. And so these are built to last the rest of your life. Might you need an operation or two over 30 or 40 years? Maybe, but they're built to withstand most normal female activities.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some of the logistics here. Let's say Dale wants to go and have another child. She has implants now. Is this going to stop her from breastfeeding in the future?
Again, that's another common urban myth. If I have breast implants, I can never breastfeed. Over 85% of women that have implants are successfully able to breastfeed. So there's a very high instance of breastfeeding after, but you lose about 5 to 10% of that ability. So if it's truly one of the key bonding issues you want in your life, I always recommend breastfeed, have your children, then think of implants.
Okay, wait till you've got them all out.
Yeah.
How about nipple stimulation? Because I've also heard that that might go down with implants.
Yeah. Depending on how the implant is inserted, usually with the gummy bear gel, it's an under the breast incision, and so that doesn't disrupt any of the nerves. There's very little risk of loss of sensation, loss of nipple areolar arousal. If you were to do a saline through the areola incision, which is around the areola, then there's a higher incidence, and that's again one of the reasons a saline implant is less commonly done now. So nipple sensation, nipple areolar arousal, breastfeeding just aren't as impacted as women might believe by breast implant surgery.
Now, a huge one, a lot of women want to go, and we should all go and start getting mammograms at a certain age. How do implants affect this? Is there any problem?
Well, your breast surgeon would definitely make you aware of this. I always do a mammogram before we do a breast implant, no matter what the age. The Canadian Cancer Society would recommend we start mammograms at 40. 1 in 9 women get breast cancer. There's no relationship to implants. There are specialized centers like Women's College, Mount Sinai, Sunnybrook, who see a lot of breast cancer patients that know how to do a mammogram with an implant in. And there's about 3% of the breast gland that can't be well imaged, so you lose about 3% of imaging of the breast gland. But your fingertips are one of the most sensitive tools for feeling a lump and a bump. One of the implant exercises is a daily little 2-minute keep them soft type routine when you're also feeling for lumps. So your home breast self-exam becomes part of your let's keep my breast limber and soft and mobile. So
you're supposed to do that every day when you have implants anyways?
Yep.
Like just like sort of a self-exam?
I do it because I want women to follow up on the Cancer Society recommendations of feel your breast every day for a lump. And while you're doing that, just move your implant around. 1 in 9 women get breast cancer. It's a serious issue. So we need to constantly surveil, and breast implants aren't going to affect that incidence.
Right.
And in fact, even if you got the breast cancer, still usually a lumpectomy and radiation, and your breast implant lives happily ever after behind the muscle.
Right.
But we need to constantly be aware that breast cancer is an issue, and breast implants don't don't minimize your ability to find that cancer at an early stage.
All right. Now, I remember some controversy at some point just about, you talked about the leaking.
Yep.
If this is saline, and this doesn't even look like it would leak, the teardrop one, are these perfectly safe for you now? Like, have we gotten to a place where this is not going to harm your insides if there is leakage?
I think that for the most part, that controversy is completely laid to rest. There are about 500 pages on the FDA website of lay panels, scientific panels, doctors, non-doctors, that have concluded that silicone is not the health risk they thought it was in 1992. 1,500 medical devices have silastic or silicone. We wouldn't have medicine if we didn't use silicone, from heart valves to brain shunts to hip implants to breast implants. At the end of the day, it's probably best to have nothing in your body. But if you look at what's most the inert, safe profile out there, silicone is probably it. When it comes to a complication, to have a sticky, gooey, leaky gel is more difficult to deal with than a gummy bear, which doesn't leak. And it holds its shape. You could cut it in half and it doesn't leak.
Now, let's say we want the little mini makeover for summer, but, you know, we want something a little non-invasive. Can you suggest any treatments?
It addresses the same issues as surgery would. So for fat melting, we have new devices like the Ultra Shape, or like Smart Lipo, or like the Vela Shape that can smoothen cellulite skin. We can shrink 2 or 3 or 4 centimeters here and there without any surgery. We can tighten loose tummy skin, not as well as the surgery can.
How do you do it without surgery?
We use different lasers and devices on top of the body that heat and tighten at the same time. We use lasers and light devices to smoothen cellulite, and we use ultrasound waves to go in and melt fat non-invasively. So we're pretty good at smoothing hair, getting rid of hair, improving cellulite, shrinking a couple inches here and there, so you can still look a little hotter in your bathing suit without having to undergo the knife.
Fantastic. All right, you have brought down a fantastic gift for everyone in the audience. I think you're really going to like this. Dr. Mulholland has brought down a $100 coupon and some SpaMedica skincare products for everyone in the audience. So if you wanted to, you could go and get one of the non-invasive procedures, put this towards anything you want. Thank you so much. That was a really good lesson.
Today on Cityline, it's Makeover Madness. Bill Rowley hits the ice with tips for your winter hair.
Moisturize, moisturize, moisturize. And maybe learn how to skate.
While Dino tackles chapped lips, we take a look at a post-baby tummy tuck. Plus, Dave Lackey brings us his spring beauty picks. And wait till you see these transformations. Right now on Cityline. Coming up, a mommy's tummy tuck.
All loose skin, that's courtesy of 3 or 4 children. The children are great, but they sometimes leave devastation behind them.
Yes, they do.
Well, I think we've all been there. Amanda was feeling a little self-conscious about her post-pregnancy body, so Dr. Mulholland gave her a new mommy makeover. Take a look.
Have a seat and relax. So, pleasant young lady, you've had a baby now. How old is your child?
She's 3.
3 years old. Breast augmentation is extremely common. It's number 2 right after liposuction. As women nowadays are entering into their postpartum years, they've had their kids, they are healthier than they've ever been. They diet, they exercise, Pilates, yoga, but they look in the mirror and what they can't bring back is what babies and breastfeeding took away. Before you had children, you had a fuller upper pole of your breast, a little perky. You're always smallish, but you always had a perky, fuller breast.
Exactly, yeah. You're so used to having like a tight little figure to you and really not having to work too hard at it. I didn't feel as sexy, I didn't feel as desirable anymore, and that did a lot to me.
So would you agree that's the area that's been frustrating on the front?
Absolutely, yeah.
She's worked out like a fiend. She's exercised for 3 years. She's down to her ideal body weight, and she has a nice figure, but she's bothered by a little pot and some love handles around the sides. So the most important principle of lipo today is get reciprocal contraction of the skin with removal of the fat. So you have a thinner contour, but you don't make a granny tummy. You want to make a youthful tummy, which should have tight, smooth skin. For the breast, obviously if you've lost the volume, you're not going to be able to get it back. There's no magic pill of breast augmentation. But breast augment surgery's changed significantly in that you can choose a shape, either teardrop or round, and a size that fits you. And we do that through a special imaging machine called the Vectra 3D. Nowadays, the telltale signs, which are visible incisions, we give lots of options to patients. Often under the breast has turned out to be one of the best approaches. It's become a very safe operation. It usually performed in under an hour, not even under general anesthesia, like twilight sedation, like having a colonoscopy or having a dental wisdom tooth extraction. It's good to see you again. How many months is it now?
It's been 4 months.
4 or 5 months, okay, great. So are you happy?
I'm so happy.
Great.
Ecstatic. I completely refound myself, and people have noticed a change, especially in my personality, my sense of humor, my overall being has changed since having this done.
Okay, I think she hit the nail on the head there, Amanda, at the end when she says, people have noticed the change, but you notice she said in my personality. So a lot of people will look at her and say, okay, her body was already great. Why is she getting anything done? But sometimes it's a psychological thing. It's not always a physical thing.
Yeah, she didn't have a huge change in her figure.
Yeah.
A little bit of fat reduction, skin tightening, and a small augmentation. And if you didn't know her, you would know, because she's wearing push-up underwire bras and wearing support Spanx.
Right.
But now she could wear what she wanted, tank top or an evening gown, feel sexy again. And the biggest change was in her perspective, in her perception, and how she carried herself.
Right, okay. So a lot of people will be at different stages with their body after they've had a baby. Some people will be the Amandas of the world. Some people will have, have put on a lot more weight. Hello, 60 pounds if you're me. Do you wait until you have had all of your kids before you look into a new mommy makeover?
It's a great question. I mean, Amanda is the one side of the mommy makeover, what I call the mommy mini, where she's had one child out of a relationship, not sure she's going to get married again or have kids. She's in her mid to late 20s, has a few frustrating changes. She has an operation that takes an hour and 15 minutes, does it on a Thursday, back on a Monday. That's for the mommy minis. Now, if you've had 2 or 3 kids or you're planning 2 or 3 kids, and there's a lot of changes, loose skin, breast deflation, then you're probably best to wait, because if you have more kids, it may alter your surgery, and that would be more the mommy major, which would be the typical tummy tuck, the body tight type of lipo, and some breast surgery, so some breastwork, lipo, and removal of skin. And usually that mommy major is best to wait until the end of the kids to do that.
Okay, all right. Now, we've got some examples of people who have gone through bigger transformations as well. And these are also mommy makeovers, but these would be more of the major
That would be. So this lady's got a lot of loose skin. Her muscles are weak. She's put on, had 3 or 4 kids. That's really a 3-week recovery. It's a huge change.
Yeah.
And she waited to the end of her childbearing cycle. But there's so many different types of women now in relationships that to force them to wait till they're 40 or 45 means their entire late 20s and 30s may they not feel as sexy as they want to.
Right, so you advise maybe stick with a mini if you're thinking maybe you're going to have a few more kids. So here's another really drastic change here. Same woman.
Yep, a lot of kids, a lot of loose skin, diet and exercise. And again, now she needs the help of plastic surgery to take where diet and exercise got her. She lost a lot of weight, but that's just all loose skin. That's courtesy of 3 or 4 children. The children are great, but they sometimes leave devastation behind them.
Yes, they do. Okay, let's talk a little bit about procedures. There are some that are more invasive than others. What are some of the options out there when it comes to the tummy tucks and the breast augmentations?
So Amanda was on the mini side, and generally with modest loose skin, a little bit of fat, we have products like that Body Tight that you saw moving back and forth. It removes fat and tightens at the same time, but no big incision. And so you could do your procedure on a Thursday, be back to work on a Monday without much downtime.
Okay.
Breast surgery's changed totally. Most women are always afraid, geez, I wonder if I pick the wrong size. With that new Vectra imaging, 3D imaging, it's like going to Holt Renfrew. You see a number of dresses, you think, that's going to look good on me. You try it on and it sucks.
Right.
So you have to try on a bunch of dresses. Now with the implants, it's the same. You can pick a bunch and pick what fits your sense of sexy. She chose a very small implant. It was a 45-minute procedure, and it gave her that little bit of upper pole loss that breastfeeding took away from her, and no amount of diet and exercise is going to bring that back.
So how does that work then, this vector system? Is it just a computer imaging?
Yeah, it's a computer imaging based upon a lot of software data. So we take a bunch of points, the computer does immediately, and based upon a bunch of before and afters can predict very, very quickly what you're going to look like. So it's like watching Dexter season 8, and you have a person's face, you want to know what they're going to look like, you know, a year later or 10 years later. The software will do that for you.
Okay.
It's very cool because it removes the biggest fear.
You can try on boobies,
yeah,
is what
you can try on breasts, like trying on a dress.
And figure out which ones you want. What are the, if there are any, risks, and who might be the best candidates for this sort of these sort of procedures?
It's very important to remember this is not non-invasive stuff. There are risks, anything from major to minor risks of any surgery. So it's important that the surgeon spends time going over those risks. They're very rare. But someone needs to be prepared to accept the pain and discomfort of surgery.
Yeah.
The mini, you can sort of be back to work feeling uncomfortable in 3 days. With the more mummy major, you know, the tummy tuck, the body tight, the breast work, you really need about 3 weeks off, and that's a big commitment.
Right.
So the risks are acceptable, but they're not negligible or irrelevant. So a good candidate understands the risks and the benefits. They know what they want to achieve. They come in, they get some imaging. We know that their expectations are realistic, and that's the biggest risk, that someone's expectations are here and the outcome's there. I do a good job, they look great, but they wanted to meet Brad Pitt. Well, that may not happen.
Yeah, and I mean, the good thing now is that you have technology to back up what they're going to look like, and I think that really does good in terms of keeping expectations where they should be.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
So.
Dr. Mulholland has brought everyone in today's audience a $250 SpaMedica gift certificate and Vivier Skin Serum 10. So it's an oil-free, medical-grade serum that helps reduce the signs of environmental damage, such as fine lines and wrinkles and uneven skin texture. Thanks so much for that, Steve. Let's go to break. We've got more coming up. Stay with us.